Hey guys, my name is Shay Ryan Douglas and today I'm here with Colleen Scott, who is an incredibly powerful woman. She is a coach, a health and wellness coach, one-on-one. She works with people. She's also a doTERRA essential oils mentor, as well as a wise woman warrior. And she's a facilitator for these workshops and women's circles and bringing the best out of women essentially, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Cool. And so I guess the question that I have for you first, which dives into women doing the work essentially, the importance of that in today's world. Why is it, so the question is, why is it important for women to do the work?
I think that for me, one of the reasons I got into that was probably foremost being a mom. So when you're raising children, I think it's really important. You are having that responsibility. You're bringing up the next generation. I think in a lot of ways, the nurturing and the emotional welfare of children today still tends to, come on the shoulders of women or moms in the households. And I just really found that when I was doing work in schools, kind of helping kids, whether it was around presence or meditation or, the possibilities of who they could be in life, I noticed that at the end of the day, as much as you could help them in that environment, they were still going into their homes, into the family. And for a lot of the young girls I was working with, I noticed that it was still kind of what they saw their mothers doing that still had the biggest impact, no matter how much you were reaching them in the classroom. So for me, it was kind of where I shifted to, okay, it's really so important to be able to focus on women and supporting moms so that they can show up and be the best version of themselves, so they can lead their families in that space. So that's kind of how I stumbled into it in the first place. It wasn't a path that I was actually on. It was more just through various work that I was doing, I was like, oh, interesting. And then also being a mom myself, seeing how little support there was, especially with families being a little bit disjointed. As you can probably hear, my accent's Canadian, so a lot of my family was there. I created a family over here, but there was just not enough support, I felt, for women who were working, raising kids, navigating relationships. So there needed to be a space for women to be able to come together and feel supported and to work through the various things so that they could really step into the best version of themselves.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it must have, yeah, definitely. That's incredible. It must be powerful work to really see that transition and transformation in women to take responsibility for their actions and the way that they behave in their families. And I've had the incredible privilege of knowing you since I was a young boy and having a really great relationship with the family, and it's been incredible to be a part of that and witness that, and it's definitely helped our family and the connection that you have with my mom. It's really, I've found and observed that it's empowered her to empower us, and it's been really beneficial in so many ways that I've experienced firsthand. So it's definitely important, I find, taking on that role as a leader within the community of women, and it's awesome to see you take upon that responsibility. How have you seen it change maybe over the years? Because you've done this for a number of years now, and are you finding the work more important to focus on the mothers, or do you also work with teenagers and the next generation coming through, or where do you focus?
I think that I don't think it's one or the other. I think that it's all the different levels that we actually really need to be looking at. For me personally, my passion is really working with other moms. I have adult daughters now, and I found that over the years, like when they were over with their friends and just navigating their little life challenges, that I really loved doing that. But for me, I find that I actually prefer to work more so with the moms. I'm seeing a lot of amazing, youth leaders rising, and I think that's making a massive difference in the reach to help people on an individual level. And I think sometimes kids tend to relate a little bit more to those that are a little bit older. I do feel there's still a big place for that sharing of wisdom through the generations. That was the other thing I really noticed, I think more so when I was working in the school system in Canada, that they had these mentor groups where they had older women that were coming in and working with the teenagers. And I'm like, it kind of felt like for me, like, when I was younger, having maybe my grandmother around, for example. So there was that sharing of wisdom and that coming together. And I think that's really powerful. And I'd love to see more of that happening as well too. But for the retreats and one-on-ones, it tends to be more just with the moms themselves that I'd like to work with. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And just even that saying, the wise woman warrior, like just letting that sink in for a moment, that is like powerful words. And to have more women step into that role is literally changing the world. It's incredible to see. I feel globally it seems there's this rise of the feminine energy in a lot of ways, with more female leaders across like Scandinavian countries, and in New Zealand we've got a PM who's now a female, and it seems that it's incredibly powerful to have women like stepping up and like really taking upon leadership roles. So that's awesome. What would you suggest are the top 3 tools that you use or you teach or that you empower other women with to take upon this leadership role in their lives?
So for me personally, it's personal responsibility and personal leadership, I think, is where I like to focus the most. And with that, I feel there's so many different tools, and really people have to experience a few different ones till they can work out what feels best for them, because your personality is going to play a little bit into this. So whether it's coming from journaling or meditation, anything that's an awareness practice, because at the end of the day it's self-mastery. So if you're not aware of what thoughts are playing in the background, what beliefs are coming up for you, what your triggers are, what your wounding is, if you're not able to observe what's happening emotionally for you and kind of unpack that, there ends up being a lot of reactivity in life. So we really want to get from that place of really understanding who we are and what's going on for us, so that we can be more responsive and responsible in our own lives and show up that way. And that's a daily practice. Like, I don't think there's an end point. Quite often I get people saying, when am I going to be there? Or when's it going to be finished? I'm like, it's never going to finish, because that's not really what it's about. It's a process that's going to keep on continuing over time. You're just going to get better at picking up and pulling yourself up when you can see you going down a certain pathway or an old story comes to play. So I think any of those practices that are about observing the thoughts and the emotions, so whether that's through meditation or journaling, and then I think that it's more about really understanding that you need to, okay, what am I going to do with that? So how am I going to move through that? I think there's a lot of talk these days about compassion and love and gratitude and forgiveness, and those are all really great concepts, but what I notice is people really struggle with what does that look like and what's the practical sides of that. So if you're going to be stepping into leadership, you have to be able to have that self-awareness and then be able to gather the wisdom from that to be able to then behave and take action from that space. So that's really where Wise Woman Warrior came from. It really was, stepping into the wisdom, which is all about the self-awareness. For women in particular, I found there was a lot of the feminine was kind of missing in leadership roles. I felt that my generation in particular, there was women, the opportunities were there for us to be in companies or in politics. The doorway was open, but it was being approached very much from a more masculine energy. So it was not coming off, it was creating a lot of burnout, I could see in women, and it was just not feeling right in women's bodies. The younger generation or the new ones that you're talking about, you can see that feminine energy is definitely starting to be a lot more in there. So it's more about that embodiment of the balance of the feminine and the masculine. And we kind of talk about the feminine being, receptive and open and nurturing, and that's all really important, but we also need to be able to take action from that space. So it's more about the being when you're in the doing. And I think there gets a lot of confusion around that. Some people tend to think that, if you're feminine, you're just going to be, zenning out and hanging out, and, nothing's really going to be happening. And so you either are that, or you're this constant, do, go, push, which is where the burnout tends to come for a lot of women as well too. So really it's about lining them up. So the warrior is all about the action and, talking about inequality and injustice and doing and creating the change in those spaces. But you really have to be very present before you step into that warrior. And for women in particular, I feel it's really important to embody that feminine aspect, which again, that's a daily practice of just becoming tuned into your body and listening and being really present in it, which requires a lot of emotional work usually. And then you can actually really take that action and make that difference in the world. So it's a big thing. It's not, something that you're just going to do overnight. And then if you have kids, for example, that's going to be a whole other dynamic at play, because your relationship that's your mirrors, and that's where your triggers are going to be. So they're the opportunity to grow as well too, or the reason to.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's really incredible. That's when you say the opportunity to grow, instead of seeing it from the mentality of a victim or something like that, this poor me, or seeing the blame and the judgment in others, and that alone is like a powerful change in the mind to help anyone, I believe. So my next question to you is, if you had the opportunity to expand into a wider reach of a leadership role. It's evident in the community, you're already taking on huge responsibility of supporting and empowering women as a leader. And imagine for a moment that you were a leader of a country, for example, or maybe even a leader of a nation, or a leader of a world, a whole globe of the earth. What would you prioritize and value, and what would you find important in the message to share to those people?
Okay. So
it's a pretty loaded question.
Yeah, that's a pretty big question.
Huge question. And I mean, take it however you want.
I think for me, there's nothing like specific that I would be adding to that, but it would be more a case of we really need to get back to understanding that we need to be honoring and respecting each and every one of us. We can't have this inequality that's happening, whether it's in communities, countries, or worldwide. We all need to have the basics of a standard of living. So whether that's healthcare, or education, homes. So it's about respecting each people as individuals, but also then extending that to respecting the earth. Because we are becoming so disconnected that we're living kind of in a space of it's us or them, and it's me or you, and we can see it's evident. It's not working. It's really not. And whether that's within our communities for people, but also with respect to what's happening to the land, the wildlife, same thing. So anything that was going to be around improving the understanding and the connectiveness of people working together for a common good is what I think I would be wanting to work towards. And so how you do that with a policy, or how you do that, but I think that's more as a leader, it's the state that you're coming from. And if you base every decision on that, from being concerned about the welfare of the greater good, I think that just makes your decisions flow a lot easier as well too.
Yeah, definitely. That's so good. That's so powerful. I totally agree with you on all of those points that you shared. I think it's so important to reconnect to our natural way of being, essentially. Connect back to the earth and our communities. And I have, through permaculture, come to understand, think globally and act locally. And is there anything that you're acting upon moving forward for your vision of your life and what's happening in the local community that you would like to see come into fruition? Maybe it's still fermenting and brewing up inside, or is there anything there for you that you're looking to act upon for the new decade, 2020? Because it's evident, like in Australia, we've got bushfires going rampant. Last year it was in the Amazon, and it's like all of these like physical manifestations of destruction are becoming really evident, and it's time to start taking action. It's time to start doing essentially what we're talking about. And so what for your new decade, 2020, new year, new opportunities, what would you like to see happen in the community, or what are you working towards for the future?
Yeah. So last year was really interesting because it was my 50th birthday.
Cool.
And it made me really kind of sit with a few things and look at where my life is. And I kind of had a chuckle to myself in my 20s, studying political science and economics. I wanted to change the world. And that was like, I was going to change the world. That's what my sights were set on. And then becoming a mom, it kind of turned into, okay, if I can just make 3 really great little people that are going to contribute to the world, I'm going to be really happy with that. And coming to the stage where the kids are now adult kids, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to expand a little bit further. And so for me, it's going to come back to providing, whether it's one-day retreats and women's circles, I'm still doing the one-on-one coaching, but providing those spaces for the women that are wanting to really step into that space of understanding themselves and that self-mastery so that they can be the leaders in their own families. I think this is where it's really going to come down to, is if we can create more leaders at an individual levels within the families, within the communities, we're going to have that ripple effect. Exactly. And that's where I feel the power is actually going to be. So for me, it's about how can I reach as many people and create these little pockets. 10 years ago when I started my Facebook page, Wise Woman Warrior, my vision was to have communities of wise women warrior throughout the world where there was a space for these women to come together and learn and share and understand and be supported as well. And I feel like I'm ready to step back into that now that, like I said, the kids are a bit older and I've got a little bit more clarity about the impact that I want to and the influence I want to create in the world.
Fantastic. So. It's like leaving an incredible legacy for the next generations. And it seems like if anyone's listening in on this, I would highly recommend go and check out the Facebook page, Wise Woman Warrior. It's got something like nearly 50,000 followers, people who are tuning into this powerful tool and platform of social media and technology that we have available to us. We've got these microphones and these camera to have a wide reach, to have a big impact and connect with people. There is obviously this debate around, the negative implications of how it's impacting our young generations and how, iPhone centric they are, stuck on their screens. Yeah. What is the main message that you share through this platform? And what's the importance of using technology in the appropriate ways? Yeah.
So my rule of thumb has always been, I don't think that anything is good or bad, no matter what it is. It's always the intention with which it's being used. So yes, you can use social media to grow and to be supported and to learn and to, become a better version of yourself, or you can also use it to compare and judge. So really, you have to be really aware of, again, it comes all down to awareness. What is the intention of me using this and what is it that I'm hoping to get? I don't think, for me personally, social media, I don't think can ever replace face-to-face connection. I think we really need to get more of that. And I am seeing a little bit of a shift back to that as well too, but I also think that social media has a place in that there are sometimes people, even on my page I get messages daily from people who have read a quote or I've posted about something and it's helped them through a challenging time, or it's helped them see the world or themselves a little bit differently when they were maybe struggling a little bit and they haven't had necessarily support within their families or communities to be able to do that. So I think that it's important and it has a place. But at the same time, we cannot forget that we do need human contact. Yeah. So again, I think for me that was why I was like, okay, I can have this wide reach, but I would love to have it set up in these communities where other women could step up and be trained in some way if they didn't feel comfortable running these kind of circles to create this connection. And so I think that social media is a great way to get those kinds of messages out there. So again, it just comes down to the intention and how it's being used. Technology is just technology. It all comes down to who's using it and why. Yeah, incredible.
That's a great perspective to have, an outlook on all elements of life, really. Moving forward, is there, do you have a vision for humanity? It seems we're in this kind of really big, crazy transitional period and all of these questions people are asking, and what's really possible if we lived our life, as you shared, with intention, with purpose, with a clear direction. what kind of world is possible to create. And if we don't live with purpose and with intention, and we just kind of go along with the current of the ocean or the river and we don't necessarily change, what else is really possible? What do you think?
I think we're seeing where we're headed if we don't really start to pay attention. Destruction and chaos and fighting, any of that is going to come when people are not self-aware. That's just going to be the way humans, I kind of always put every action out there is either a call to love or it is an act of love. And I got that from Marianne Williamson years ago, and I was like, oh, that's so, I so get it. That's put so simply as well too. So if you can see that if people are behaving in a certain way, there's some sort of wounding or there's something that they're trying to get. So if you can see the woundedness, not from a place of judgment or pity or anything like that, but just understand that there's a need trying to be met. You can still set boundaries, and you can still say no, and you can still, stand up for injustice and inequality, but you do it from a very different place. And I think that the more people that really understand that and start to be able to step into that, the more we're going to see transformation on all levels. And when we create that connection with each other and we create that connection with our environment, I think anything's possible. That's the amazing thing about it. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom scenarios out there, and yes, that is one pathway, but I don't know, I just have this feeling, or maybe it's just this strong hope and belief that there's more to us as humans, and that potential and that possibility, that I still think that there is, there's so much greatness that can still come for us in the future, and we can course correct at any time. And for me, again, personally, one of the things that I've really tried to do this year in particular with respect to the environment is really take notice of, what is the footprint I'm leading. So our purchasing power is pretty powerful.
Huge.
And I've always said that if we stop buying crap, companies are going to stop making crap. And you just have to, kind of look at your own lives and go back to, like, how am I contributing to this problem, or how am I contributing to the solution? And that's a choice we get to make every single day. And we need to take that power back instead of putting it out there as somebody else's responsibility or somebody else is going to fix it. Well, how can we do that every day in our lives, whether it's the things we're buying or the relationships we're creating or how we're showing up every single day? So I think it's really that simple.
Fantastic. Yeah, it really is. Incredibly powerful message. Thanks so much for taking the time out to chat with me. It's great to always catch up with you, and this is a great message to share with the world. So if you guys really enjoyed what you heard, please check out Colleen Scott on Facebook, The Wise Woman Warrior, and check out her website. She's got some amazing offerings to share with the world.
Thank you, Shay. Love what you're doing. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Colleen.